Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day. This rundown's going out to Blade Blur, who sent me a very special message wishing me a happy birthday from thousands of miles away. Thank you, Blade Blur. This rundown is all yours. They're making a big screen Call of Duty movie, and it's found its commanding officer. The upcoming film adaptation of the hit military shooter series has recruited a director. Variety reports that the Call of Duty movie will be helmed by Italian filmmaker Stefano Sollima, who's about to make his American debut with the new drug thriller Sicario 2. That film doesn't come out until this June, but its early buzz is apparently good enough to score its director a high-profile follow-up like Call of Duty. The film adaptation of the massive video game series was first announced back in 2015, with publisher Activision producing it themselves through their new film and television subsidiary Activision Blizzard Studios. Call of Duty will be their first theatrical undertaking, with their only previous project being the Netflix animated series Skylanders Academy. Given how much money the Call of Duty games make, Activision certainly has the capital to pull off a movie, although it's yet to be determined if they can break the video game movie curse. Most film adaptations of video games are pretty crappy, and almost all of them have bombed at the box office, so Activision has its work cut out for it, especially considering the high regard that fans have for the franchise. Thankfully, the games are pretty cinematic to begin with, so hopefully it will work. We'll let you know when more intel comes in. There's a new reason to be excited about Star Wars Episode 9 because it's going to replicate one of the best-looking sci-fi movies ever. The new Star Wars adventure has hired art director Paul Inglis, who last served as the art director on Blade Runner 2049. The look and feel of that film is undeniably gorgeous, with Inglis and his team creating a fantastical yet realistic future. So if Star Wars Episode 9 looks half as good, count us in. Star Wars Episode 9 is currently in pre-production, with filming expected to begin later this year under director J.J. Abrams. It will hit theaters in December 2019. Batman is turning Japanese this spring. Warner Brothers and DC Comics have announced that the new animated movie Batman Ninja will be available to buy digitally on April 24th, with a physical release hitting Blu-ray on May 8th. Produced in Japan, the film is the first Batman adventure done in the style of Japanese anime and tells a new story that sees Batman and other characters transported from present-day Gotham City to feudal Japan. The artwork and character designs put a new samurai-style spin on the familiar characters. The designs were overseen by Afro Samurai creator Takashi Okazaki, with another anime veteran, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure producer Junpei Muzazaki serving as director. Batman is almost 80 years old, so it's good to see that DC and Warner Brothers are still finding ways to keep him fresh after all these years. Loads of classic gaming franchises have just been brought under one roof. Game publisher THQ Nordic has bought Koch Media, the parent company of Dead Island, Metro, and Saints Row publisher Deep Silver. This might not sound very interesting to the average gamer, but it could mean some very good things for the future of several big game franchises. Here's how. THQ Nordic, formerly known as Nordic Games, bought the THQ name and the rights to several franchises when the original THQ went bankrupt in 2012. Deep Silver, on the other hand, bought many former THQ studios, like Red Faction developer Volition, but not the rights to many of their games. Now that THQ Nordic has bought Deep Silver, it brings all those old THQ franchises and their original developers under the same roof, which makes it possible for the original teams to create new sequels. In other good news, THQ Nordic says they won't be implementing any of the corporate restructuring that typically happens after big acquisitions like this, which means they won't be laying off massive numbers of people. We'll let you know when new titles are announced. The first U.S. state has just begun what could be a long, hard fight against loot boxes. State lawmakers in Hawaii have unveiled two separate pieces of legislation aimed to stop the use of randomized loot boxes following their rise in games like Star Wars Battlefront 2. The first bill would make it illegal to market or sell games to minors if they have loot boxes that can be bought with real-life money. The second bill would make it mandatory for publishers to disclose the presence of loot boxes on a game's cover and also provide players with a breakdown of their actual chances of winning. Both bills were drafted by State Representative Chris Lee, who last year vowed to take on loot boxes in gaming, comparing them to online gambling and saying that they exploit gambling addiction in players.
This game is a Star Wars themed online casino designed to lure kids into spending money. It's a trap.
Some gamers are understandably nervous about the idea of the government regulating something within a video game, given attempts at censorship in the past. On the other hand, many gamers are also troubled by the rise of loot boxes, especially if they're meant to exploit addictive tendencies. Given how profitable loot boxes have become, government regulation might be the only way to curtail them. Banning loot boxes in an entire state like Hawaii could start the ball rolling and get similar legislation passed in other U.S. states. The new legislation is expected to be voted on later this year, but game makers can always fight the legislation in court if it passes. So this could be a long battle. That wraps up the rundown for today. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, we've got lots of other content for you to check out, and if you do that and you dig it, don't forget to hit subscribe, that little bell, and if you're so inclined, that sponsorship button too.